Assalamu alaikum, hi everybody. So in this video I'm gonna explain the blind auction contract from Solidity documentation. So as you see, I'm now in the browser, so I will check out the documentation and then I'm gonna go to the Solidity by examples or by example, and then we have mini contracts. So I will go to the blind auction, and so there is this simple open auction which we already try to explain. So today I'm gonna explain this blind auction, which is more complex than the first one. So first, so this is the code of the contract, and basically what I'm going to do in this video, I'm not because this is gonna be just the first part, so I'm not going to explain the actual code, but I'm gonna explain firstly what is a blind auction and how it works, and then I'm gonna explain the concept and the method that this code is how it functions. Okay, so how does this contract functions and its concept, what it does exactly. And then in the second part I will try to explain the actual code. So what is a blind auction? Okay, so firstly, we know that there is a traditional auction where people can, where we do have a seller that who has a product, and the people, they are showing their bids. Okay, so each participant will provide an amount. He will see that I'm gonna pay, for example, $500, and the other one will say $600, and it's like that. People will, they're gonna bid each other, and they will overbid each other, and then at the end one of them will bid the greatest amount, or the highest bid is gonna be the winner of the auction. Okay, so but the opposite of that traditional auction is the blind auction. Okay, so in the blind auction the participants cannot see the other participant bids. Okay, so they can't, so that they cannot adjust their bid depending on the other participant bids. Okay, so and this is actually not good for the participants, so because they don't know what the other people are bidding. Okay, so what happens exactly is they just send their bids. Okay, so in an envelope, for example, they send it to the receiver, or we can call it the beneficiary, or let's say just now, let's say the seller. Okay, so they are sending their bids to the seller in an envelope, for example, and then the seller, or that group who is responsible for the auction, they will just take the biggest bid. Okay, the biggest amount, or the highest bid, exactly. And yeah, that's exactly what happens. So the participants, they are just sending their bids. They don't know, they can't see the other participants' bids. So, and of course this is not good for them, because they might send a small bid and they don't know, and they might also send a very big or high bid. Okay, so now the process looks actually very simple, okay, but in order to implement this process in the contract is not actually that easy, okay. Because you know, it takes actually a lot of dealing with addresses, okay, and dealing with bits, okay, because the participant in the real world, or I mean, sometimes the participant will not just send one bit, okay, so one participant can send many bits, okay, and then maybe the first bid for him wasn't that high, so then he changed his mind and he sent a more high bid, okay. So that's why it's a bit complex. So now after that we see what is a blind auction and how basically it works. You can actually learn more about it, so you can search and take more information, but basically this is the general idea of a blind auction. So now let us see how the concept and this contract actually works, okay. So what happens in this contract, let me deploy it so we can see. No, so now I'm not going to go through the code, but I'm just going to deploy it and see the functions so we can explain the concept for each function. So before deploying it, what's gonna happen is the auction will start, okay, so we'll start in a specific time and the auction will end in a specific time after a period of time. And when the auction start, the bidding period will start, and after a time, okay, the bidding will end. And then so in this period of the bidding, the people will send their bids, okay, they will deposit their bids to the contract, so they are sending money to the contract. And they will not just send money, but they will send money with a hash code that they will generate. So they need actually to generate a code using a function that the contract actually will is telling us to use exactly that function. Because the contract also is using that function to check if actually the hash code that you send is correct or not. So after you send the amount or the bid with that hash code, so when the bid period will end, you're gonna need to do in the second phase, which is the reveal, okay. So the reveal period, where participants should reveal their bids, okay. And then when if they can actually reveal their actual bid, then we can, in that exact time of revealing their bid, the contract will check their bids if they are bigger than the last bid, okay, than the last highest bid. If their bids is high than the current bid, then their bid will be the new high bid, okay. And then the last high bid will be added to an array of the bids that should be returned to the participant who didn't win. So for the deploy, as you see, there is 3 arguments. Okay, so we need to enter the time of the auction, okay, of the bidding, actually, sorry. So we need to enter the period or the number of seconds for the bidding time, which is, for example, is in this one is 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. And then after the bidding is end, the reveal will start. And then the reveal, let's say for example, we will provide the participant another 5 minutes after the bidding time. They have new 5 minutes to reveal their bids. Okay, and then we should also enter the address of the beneficiary, or it can be the seller. We can call it the seller or the beneficiary who will receive the money when this revealing time is end. And when this revealing time is end, is actually the end of the is gonna be exactly the end of this auction. And so let's now click transact. So now the contract is deployed, which is this contract. And if we click it so that we can interact with it, and I think that I'm gonna now if we check the beneficiary, okay, so if we click it, so this is actually a state. So this is the address of the beneficiary. This is the address which gonna receive the money at the end of this blind auction. And this address is exactly the address that we copied. So exactly this first address. So as you see, EDDC4, which is this one, EDDC4. And for the ended, so this ended is a state that shows if the auction is ended or not. And for now it should be false because the auction just started. If we check it, it is false. Okay, and then we have the highest bid. Okay, and because there is no highest bid for now, then the highest bid is gonna be 0. Okay, and the highest bidder, which is the current highest bidder, and because there is no current highest bidder for now, so it should be a blank address, which is just zeros. Okay, and then we also have the bidding end, and as you see, this bidding end, we already entered the bidding time, and it should be, if we check it, as you see, this is the time, but it's not as this time, for example, it's just seconds. And there is also the reveal time. So this is actually a time. It's not an amount of seconds, but it's a time just in a form that is not like this form. Okay, and we also have the reveal when the reveal will end. And if you also notice that the difference between these two numbers is the end. So at the end of this one is 356, and this one is 600. Okay, so the difference between them is just 300 seconds. Okay, so that's the difference between them, just 300 seconds that we enter for the revealing time. So Yeah, actually, let me complete now the concept of this contract. So after that, the beneficiary is, or the responsible for the contract will deploy the contract. Then the participants or the bidders will come and enter a bid. Okay, they will use this function, and as you see, the color here is red, and this means that this function costs some money. Okay, and if we check, so this is the function and it's payable. Okay, it sends money, that's why the color is red. Okay, and we also see this transact payable when we hover over this button, and also that we see that message.value. So there is a value that the participant or the bidder will send when using this bid function. So what happens is the participant will enter a code. Okay, so it's, as you see, it's a byte 32 that the participant should generate using a function, and this is the documentation how he can do that. So it says that he should use this function called kickac 256 EBI encode picked, and he should enter the value, which is gonna be the amount. Okay, that the amount of the bid, and he will should also says if this value is a fake value or a real value, and then he would also enter a secret. So it's gonna be some characters to code, to actually code, and he will use the same secret in the revealing part. Okay, so when he will enter this bidding hash that he will generate using this function, he will also send some money using the value, and when he send the ether with this code, this code with the money will be added to a array. Okay, so there's gonna be an array. So when the money is added to that array, so that we can store all the bits, and if the same participant will send the same will send another amount, another bid, so we can add that bit to the same array for the same participant, and so on and so forth. So when the bid time will end, then the reveal will start, and as you see, the participant will need to fill these 4 fields. Okay, and each field will be as an array. So the array will take, for example, one element or many, depending on if the participant they send one bid or many bids, and for each bid there gonna be a secret, and also this should fill this argument whether this value is the actual value that they send. Okay, the actual ether that they send when they bid, or it's a fake value and they might send more or less. Okay, and after the reveal, if the revealing was correct and the secret they used for the reveal was correct when comparing with the bits that exist in that array of bits, then their bid will be compared with the highest bid, and if it was bigger, then they will be the winners or the current winners. And yeah, it's just like that. So when the time will end, anyone actually can call the auction end, and when this function will be called, if the time of the revealing is ended, then the money will be sent to, or the highest bid will be sent to the beneficiary, and the other participants who didn't win, they can withdraw their money, so they can get their money back. So basically this is gonna be the concept, how this contract will works, and I'm gonna explain more maybe I will make it more clear to explain the concept, how this contract actually works. So we already did that, but I'm gonna try to explain more about it and to explain the code, how the code actually works, because this is what matters for us, is to understand how does the code and the algorithm works and the functions works together in the second part. So thank you. I hope that I succeed to explain at least 50% of how the concept actually works. And thank you.